Hello everyone, today we'll talk about how to use Photoshop to render floor plans. The drawings were already created in AutoCAD. I'll just open them here and render them. So File, Open, and I'll go to the folder that I saved the file in, which is in Tutorials. I saved it as plan example. And then this little window opens up for me. Don't choose bounding box, try to choose bleed box because the scale of your drawing won't change if you use that. There's also something called resolution, and depending on the number, the higher the number, the clearer the image is, because resolution is made up of pixels. It's measured by pixels, and pixels are small little dots that make up an image. So the more the dots, the clearer the photo is. There's also Rgb and Cmyk. RGB is better to use for things that will stay on the screen, while CMYK is better for things that are going to be printed. So I'm going to choose that, assuming that I'm going to print this, and then I'll press OK. And the plan will open up for me. The little squares in the back mean that the background is transparent, which is what I want, but for the very moment it's kind of hard to use because it's hard to see the plan underneath it. So what I'm going to do is just create a new layer, which is the button over here, and I'm going to go to the paint bucket, choose white in the foreground, press OK, and I'm going to paint the whole layer in white, and then I'm going to click on it and drag it underneath the layer. The second thing I want to do before I start is that the plan is currently in yellow and green. And I did that in AutoCAD just so it helps me create this image, but obviously I don't want it now to be colored, so I can go to the background and the foreground and choose them both to be black, press OK. Then I can go to the layer that has the plan in it. Make sure you don't go to the layer that we just created that was just colored in black. We have to be on the layer with the plan. I can even rename it and call it plan just so I don't forget which layer it is. If you are on the layer, then it will be highlighted. That means this is the current layer you're actually on. So to change the colors, I'll go to Image, Adjustments, Gradient Map, and it'll change all the lines to black and white. I can just press OK. Everything's done here for me. Then what I want to do is I want to color in the walls as a solid color. So what I'll do is I'll use the magic wand, which is this tool over here. This little arrow shows you that there are more tools underneath. So if I just press on it for a long time, more options will come up related to the same tool. But for now, I'll just choose the magic wand. I'll press on the walls. And a useful tip to remember is that if I keep my hand on shift, then my first selection won't get erased. But if I don't, so let's assume I didn't put my hand on shift and then I wanted to select another thing, it doesn't get added. The first selection gets erased. So what I'll do is I'll press shift and I'll make sure I choose both the walls, and then I'll go to this little icon over here. I'm going to press on it and I'm going to choose solid color. Okay, I want my walls to be a bit gray, so I'm gonna choose that. So let's say this shade. I'll press OK. Now this is how to render things in a solid color. So if I didn't want two colors or I don't want a pattern to be in it, but let's assume we want to render the flooring in parquet. The first thing I have to do is go to Google, find an image of parquet that I actually like, and then open it up. Which I already did and I saved them, so I will just go to File, Open. I just need to see the images so I can choose from them. So let's assume we want to use this parquet. Okay, I have to open it up in a separate folder and then go to Edit, Define Pattern, and then press OK. It's going to get added to my library, so I can go back here, go to the magic wand, go to the plan layer, press on the flooring that I want to render. Obviously, the door isn't going to be a part of it, so I will need to add that, but I'll press shift. I'll select inside these doors, and then I'll go to the square marquee tool, which is over here under the move tool. I'll put my hand on shift so other selections don't get erased. I'll zoom into the door area. Okay, go back to the square marquee tool, press shift, and make sure I select all the parts that I need within the door to also be rendered. Okay, so there I have it. I selected all the areas that I want the parquet to be in. I can go to this little icon, which is a circle and it's colored in half and half. You can press on it, go to pattern, and then the pattern that I chose will automatically get filled in the spaces. Obviously you can play around with it. You can change the size because it was way too small for my image. So for example, I want it to be, this looks about right. I'll press OK. And now I have my flooring rendered. Although the layer from AutoCAD got actually hidden underneath the layer that I created, so I'm just going to go to the plan layer and press on it and drag it up so that all the details still show. I can go to the plan layer as well by using the magic wand tool. Click on the door and go to the circle and click on solid color. I also want this to be the same shade of gray as the walls. I'll press OK. The next thing I want to do is add a rug. Let's assume I did this rug in AutoCAD, but I actually don't like it now and I want to add something else. So I can go to Google again, choose a rug that I like, then I can go to File, Open, and I chose a few rugs, so go through them. For example, I want this rug. This looks nice. I'll press on it, square marquee tool, select it. I can go to Control C, which is the shortcut for copy. Go to this, Control V, and I've pasted the rug into this folder. But obviously I want to enlarge it, so the shortcut to that is Control T. And if I keep my hand on shift, then the width and the height are gonna enlarge and get smaller at the same time, at the same pace. If I don't, then I'm able to stretch this, but that's not what I want. So let me just undo this because I just wanted to show you guys. And then you just press Control T. Keep your hand on shift so it doesn't look weird. Press OK when I feel like that's what I want. And then I can also rotate it from the corner over here. Rotate it like this. Press OK. Then I can use the move tool to move it wherever I want. So let's say probably need it to be bigger to hide that. Let's say we want the rug to be over here, right in the center of the plan. I can press OK. I can lower the opacity of this layer so I can see underneath it, and then go to the square marquee tool, highlight the areas that I want the rug to be erased underneath, go back to the layer and delete. And then I can bring back the opacity of the rug so it doesn't so the parquet doesn't show from underneath it. Just then, if I want to continue, I can also color the chairs and all these little details. So I can go to File, Open, and choose, for example, this type of wood. Then go to Edit, Define Pattern again, press OK, go back to the plan, use the magic wand, make sure I'm on the plan layer. I might want to drag it and keep it. Actually, I don't want to do that because the rug is going to show. I can actually erase the rug if that's a problem. So I can zoom in. Again, square marquee tool. Delete the areas. Okay. Zoom out. I can go to the magic wand tool, zoom into the table that I actually want to render with the marquee tool, keep my hand on shift and select all the parts that I want to be rendered. Then I can go to this icon over here, press on pattern and choose the pattern. If I'm satisfied with it, I can just press OK. If I'm not and I want to change it, want to make it smaller or bigger, say I want to make it smaller, and I want to do the same thing to this table over here. Magic wand, press on it, shift, click, click, and then go to this icon, press pattern, and do the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing with the chair. Let's say I wanted the exact same shade, one of the shades here in this rug. I can actually use the eyedropper, which is this tool, and press on the shade itself. You'll notice that it gives me the exact same shade that I want. So let's say we want to use this shade. We'll go to the magic wand, go on the plan, select all the parts in the chair, go to this icon, press on solid color, and color the chair in. Press OK. Notice everything currently looks flat because we still didn't get to the part that's shades and shadows. There it will look a lot better. So let's zoom into here as well. Let's assume we want to do this purple this time. We can even choose the shade of purple and then click on it and adjust it to maybe a brighter shade, however we want it to be. But it's going to be close to the color that we've already chosen for the rug. We'll go back to the plan layer, shift, select all the layers that we want to be purple. Go to the icon, solid color, and color it all in purple. For example, we want to use the blue now for the sheets underneath. We can go to the plan again, select this icon, solid color, and then press OK. We want to render the side tables, go to the plan layer, select it, shift, select the other one, and then go here, select pattern, and it gets rendered with the same type of wood we used for the tables. And then press OK. We also want to render in the doors over here. Magic wand tool, go to the plan layer, make sure these are selected. These. Oops. Select them all, then go to the solid color, color them in. Might want to make them a lighter shade than the wall so we can differentiate between them. Okay, now I have everything rendered but with no shades and shadows, so play around with the shades and shadows. First I'm going to move the plan to the topmost layer. I'm going to use the magic wand tool again, and I'm going to click in the areas that I want the shades to be in. I'm going to use the brush tool. I'm going to select a black color. Okay, make sure that the brush size is appropriate. We want it to be around this big, so this little circle shows me how big my brush is currently. I want to create a new layer, and on this new layer think about this main light source, which is the window, and everything being directed 45 degrees around this. So everywhere around that will not receive sunlight is going to be shaded. Don't worry, it's not going to be this dark. We're going to lower the opacity of it. Okay, let's see if we want to put it here. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to have... So these are the shadows that I want to cast on the floor. I also want to then cast shadows here and here and here and here. Go back to that layer, use the brush tool, add some shades to these areas over here. Then what we're going to do is Control D to remove the selection, and we're going to go and lower the opacity so that the shadows are not as dark. So notice how that made a bit of a 3D effect to our plan. So let's just remove them to see the difference. It creates a lot more of a 3D to the spaces. Another thing that we can do is go to the layers that we want to look 3D, and we can go to something called Layer, Layer Style, Bevel, Emboss, and that creates a bit of a 3D effect in my space. I can alter it, I can soften it until I'm satisfied with how it looks like. Press OK, and now my chair looks a bit more 3D. I can do the same thing for the bed layer. Image, layer style, bevel, emboss. Obviously not as much depth as the chair, and we'll soften it and we'll press OK. Another useful thing to know is layers from the layer styles is outer glow. So let's assume we want to render this lamp over here. You can go back to the plan layer, select it, go to the eyedropper so I can get a similar shade to this, just a lighter shade. Create a new layer, paint this in, Control D, then I can go to layer, layer style, outer glow, and that gives me a glow to the light itself. You can tell it looks illuminated now. I can make it more, I can make it less, I can lower the opacity so that it's not as clear, and then press OK, and now it looks like the lamp is on. And there you have it. This is just a quick tutorial on how to render floor plans for interior designers. I hope you found it useful.